Right, so our target for today, which will all become clear once you read chapter 8 of James and the Giant Peach, is we are going to begin to explore the features of a newspaper article. We're going to do that by making some notes on the key features of a newspaper article from a video I'm going to play for you, and then by identifying those features within a different newspaper article. Are you ready to get started? Hope you enjoy reading chapter 8. Have you ever actually thought about a skeleton? Other than when we've seen them in cartoons and things, or on Halloween. What is it? A skeleton is a collection of bones and other rigid materials which connect together to perform a variety of tasks. When it's born, a human baby has a total of 270 bones in their skeleton. But over time, those bones, some of which were separate to help the baby to be born, fuse together or stick together to create bigger bones, so that by the time we become an adult, the number of bones in our body has decreased to just 206. First question to you then, which would normally be a talk to your partner situation, so talk to your dog, talk to a cuddly toy, have a little discussion about why do you think we need a skeleton? There are three very important functions that our skeleton is carrying out for us right now without us even knowing it. It is offering our body support, protection, and it helps with our body's movements. Let's take those three things one at a time then. Let's start with support. What does support mean? It means, in this instance, that your skeleton is kind of propping your body up. Have you ever actually felt your bones? Let's try that. Take your fingers from your left hand and press them gently against your right wrist. What can you feel? You should be able to feel a little bit squidge from your skin and the flesh that's underneath your skin, but then press a little bit deeper and you can feel your solid, rock hard bones. You got those? You may also want to try reaching your hand around your side to your back, and again you'll feel the soft flesh, but if you press further through, you will start to feel the hardness of your ribs. You may even be able to feel your ribs one at a time, and then in the middle of your back you should be able to feel what we call the vertebrae of your spine, the individual pieces of your spine. Now you could pretty much perform those same actions on most parts of your body, and once you get through the flesh then you will feel the really hard bone on the inside. You can do it on your jaw, that's quite an easy one to feel. Your skull is very easy because it's right close to the surface of the skin. It's more difficult around your stomach because there are more squidgy organs in there, but they are still covered and supported by your skeleton. But your legs are also a very easy way to find your skeleton. You'll get through the flesh quite easily and feel the hard bone underneath. Now, question for you. What might happen to your body if you didn't have that skeleton to support it? Now, I thought this was quite a funny illustration of what might happen if we didn't have bones. We'd pretty much be a pile of organs and skin flopping around on the floor. Now this picture is not particularly accurate because the face is still intact and appears as though there's still a skull, so that possibly isn't quite accurate, and the fingers are still able to move because we wouldn't have any bones in our fingers, so they'd just be a pile of mush too. Now the next thing that I've said our skeleton is useful for is that it provides us with protection. What does it protect, do you think? Here I've got a close-up of just the top half of my, well, not my personal skeleton, but the skeleton that I showed you earlier. And the very first thing that the skeleton protects, right up at the top of our body, is our very precious brain, which controls all the movement in our body. Coming down now to the rib cage, that protects many of our organs. The first one that I'm going to show you is your lungs, which help you to get that oxygen into your system. The next organ that I'm going to show you, which your rib cage works hard to protect, is your heart, that pumps all of that oxygenated blood around your body. Your liver is also an important organ which is protected. It sits right at the bottom of your rib cage and it takes all of the nasty things out of your blood that your body doesn't need. Your stomach also receives partial protection from your rib cage and sits alongside your liver. The final way that our skeleton helps us is it actually helps to move our bodies around. Let's investigate how your skeleton can help your body to move. So, as you can see, I have a picture of a hand and an arrow pointing at the place where your hand joins to your arm, and that's called your wrist. So, what I would like you to do, stretch your hand out in front of you and move that wrist. See how many different ways your hand moves just from the wrist. Try not moving the rest of your arm. Now I would like you to do the same thing with your knee. If your balance isn't too great, like mine, you know what I'm like, always falling over, then sit down to do this. If you've got something to hold on to, then you can stand up. Just lift your leg slightly off the floor and move your lower leg using your knee joint. Does it move in the same way that your wrist just helped your hand to move? Did your wrist and your knee move in the same way? Well, the answer is no, they don't move in the same way. And the reason for that is that they have different joints. The joint is the place where the bones come together. And in your wrist, there is a different joint system to your knee. Let me show you. When you were practicing with your wrist, you should have been able to move your hand from side to side, up and down and round in virtually a complete circle. And the reason for that is the type of joint that your wrist has. The joint in your wrist, which is also the same as the joint in your shoulder and the one in your ankle, is called a ball and socket joint. That's because one bone has a ball on the end and the other bone has a socket on the end which receives the ball and allows for that range of motion, for that turning almost 360 degrees. You will only have been able to move your leg at the knee joint backwards and forwards. There might have been a slight sideways movement, but you certainly wouldn't have been able to turn your leg in the way that you were turning your hand. That's because your knee has a different joint. It isn't a ball and socket joint this time, it's called a hinge, which only allows for forwards and backwards movement. Whew. That was a whistle-stop tour of the importance of your humble skeleton. I bet we've never even thought about our skeleton before, have we? But it does a very important set of jobs to keep us moving and actually to keep us alive in some instances. So, let's bring everything together that we've learned. Right, let's take a moment to just recap on our target and success criteria for today. We are trying to explain the functions of our skeleton. So, hopefully we understand how the skeleton protects and what it protects. We understand how it supports us, and we can understand how it helps our bodies to move. So have a think about which emoji you are currently. Right, that must be time for you to do some independent work, I think. So I would like you to draw a skeleton. It's not an art lesson, remember, it's a science lesson, so it just has to be a rough diagram. And see if you can label with an arrow that points at approximately the right place the vital organs which are protected by that skeleton. Here you go then, just to help you out, here's the diagram that I was using earlier to explain where all the vital organs can be found. All that we have left to do then is to have a look at our target and success criteria and decide on our final emoji for this lesson. Our target was to explain the functions of a skeleton. Have you understood the 3 functions of a skeleton? That it protects, it supports, and it helps our body to move around. Take a moment to have a think about it and then choose your emoji. I hope you've enjoyed today's science lesson as much as I have. The human body is an absolutely miraculous piece of equipment. Don't forget you can send me your fantastic work. I really look forward to seeing your skeletons via WhatsApp, email, or drop it in the post box if you're out on your daily exercise. So until I see you very soon, stay safe and take care.